Georgia got away with a 42-41 win over Ohio State, thanks to a missed late field goal by the Buckeyes. Ohio State receiver Marvin Harrison Jr. taken out of the game due to a concussion after he already had 106 yards on 5 catches and 2 touchdowns. Shannon, would Ohio State have won if Marvin Harrison Jr. hadn't gotten hurt?
You know, that, Skip, I hate saying definitively yes, but I like their chances a lot better, considering they had already accounted for 4 touchdowns. He had 2 of those over 100 yards through the air. But let me tell you how they would have won this game. If that stinking defense had played better. At some point in time, Skip, look at them against Michigan. They gave up 45 points to Michigan. They gave up 42 points. At some point in time, you can't keep giving up an average of 43 points, over 530 yards a game, and say, yeah, we're going to win the game. Okay, they're giving up scoring plays against these 2 teams. 69, 75, 45, 75, 85, 25, 76. They gave up 38 points in the 4th quarter alone.
They did.
How about when you get a lead, Skip, you don't give up a 76, 75-yard touchdown in 11 seconds? That would definitely help some.
Yep.
Their defense, and you think all those those 5-star recruits they got on that side of the ball. Skip, you know Chase Young, the Ohio State, the Bosa brothers, they're from Ohio State. They got Jeff Okuda. I mean, they loaded on that side of the football.
Loaded.
And they can't stop anybody. So I think their defense has really let them down because Stetson Bennett, starter Bennett, just went right down the field. Bloop, 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 bloop. They come with the pressure. He's fading back, throws it, touchdown. Yeah, okay, Skip, me, I'm not counting on no college kicker in a pressurized moment like that for an opportunity to go to the national championship, Skip. I'm betting against 99.9% of the kickers. Skip, they're not making that kick. And then he hooks it because now I got to get it. And it wasn't even close.
Snap hooked it.
So for me, Skip, yeah, I would like to think they possibly could have won. But Marvin Harrison Jr. don't play in the defense, and they got drugged on that side of the ball. And that's not what we normally see with Ohio State. And Ohio State normally has very, very good defensive players.
Yep.
But the last 2 times we've seen them in the college football playoff, we saw them against Alabama a couple of years ago, Skip. They got drugged. We see them again this year. Now, the game was close, but they give up 500-plus yards. They probably would have gave up 700. The thing that helped them the most is that right out of the half, Devontae Smith got hurt. Because imagine if he'd have stayed in the game, he already had over 200 yards and 3 touchdowns. But their defense let them down, Skip. Yes, I believe Marvin Harrison would have gone a long way. But, Skip, it wasn't like they weren't making plays still on the offensive side of football. They were doing that. They just couldn't stop Georgia once they got that big lead.
Is it just me, or does anybody in college football play any defense?
No.
Because they just go up and down the field against each other. And by the way, for what it's worth, look what Georgia gave up, 467 total yards. So my biggest takeaway from the night was Georgia looked
average,
fallible.
Yes.
It looked beatable. It did not look invincible. It looked vincible.
But guess what happens, Skip? When we've seen Alabama struggle, what do teams do? They don't run it, they throw it. They spread their butts out, but you got to be able to protect now. If you can't protect, you can't throw the ball. You couldn't throw the ball against Bama. You couldn't throw the ball against Georgia. Skip. And so that's what they did. They was like, you know what? Forget trying to bang our head against the wall and run the football. Let's throw it. And C.J. Stroud, he answered. He played extremely well. And he showed some athleticism, Skip. I had never seen him display.
You mentioned that the other day, that you were disappointed in the lack of. I thought he played the game of his life.
I agree.
Whew. And he moved much better than I've seen him move before. Maybe a fire was lit under him because it was Georgia on this stage. But, man, did he play great. I believe he made himself some money on that night. Too. Because if I watched that game and I was evaluating for an NFL team, I'd say high marks all the way
But he ain't better than Bryce Young. Did you see Bryce Young?
Bryce Young is really special.
Did you see them throws he made, Skip?
I tweeted, he is the greatest undersized thrower of the football I've ever seen on the college level. Because he's still, I don't even know if he's 6 feet tall, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah, he ain't nowhere close to 200 pounds.
No, he is a small man. He's not like Kyler small.
Right.
But he's got a better arm and he's a better thrower than Kyler.
He has his frame is different. Kyler is sturdy.
Stout, he is.
Yes. This dude is real.
That scares me about Bryce going forward. Can he take the pounding that you have to take?
Well, you're going to have to.
Because he is special as a thrower of the football because he's got a whip of an arm, and he is deadly accurate. and he has big intangibles because he will clutch throw you to death.
Yes.
C.J. Stroud impressed me, but quick thought on the last. It was the ugliest duck-hooked clutch kick I've ever seen because it didn't have a prayer.
Skip as a
It was
kid.
done.
Skip
It was
a kid,
done.
That pressure.
Noah
Skip, that's a
Ruggles,
kid.
Noah struggles. Okay. He had made two big ones. He made one from 25 and he made one from 48. But this was for all that marbles, okay? This is to get to the championship game and to pull off a huge upset of Georgia that they're prohibitively favored. And yet I still hate it that these games get fought out for all these minutes by these mighty warriors, these noble warriors, and then somebody who doesn't really play football trots on and wins or loses the game. And I hate it for the Ohio State kids because you could just see the looks on their face. They were just devastated. Yeah. They were horrified because they were very hopeful because he'd made one from 48 that he would nail this one, and it didn't even sniff the uprights.
No.
It went right in the ground. Okay. So I hate place kicking, and I hate it that these games get decided by it. But the point was, my biggest takeaway was, it felt like Ohio State did everything but win the game.
They did.
And it did feel like that Marvin Harrison Jr., who is going to be the next Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson.
He definitely a chip off the old block.
Man block. Was he?
Yeah.
He was unguardable.
He looked like he's a little bigger than his dad, though, Skip. He's a lot bigger than his dad.
He's a lot bigger than his dad, which shocks me. And yet, that Ringo kid's going to be a high pick, I think. He might have lost himself some money, but he had no chance against him. He could not cover him.
No.
Okay, so that's going on. And yet, I'll also make the case that Georgia, that Darnell Washington, he's 6'7", beast of a tight end.
Right.
They lost him in, I think it was in the second quarter, and he spends the whole second half out on their sidelines in a walking boot with crutches.
Right.
So is he gone now for the championship game? Because you love that Brock Bowers kid.
Do.
And yet he had a fairly quiet game.
Except the last drive, he made some plays.
He made some plays. Okay, which leads me to Stetson Bennett the fourth, that they call the mailman. He's 5'11". I don't think he can play, maybe 5'10".
You know they loud enough.
I know they loud. Okay, let's give him 5'10". I don't believe he can even be a backup in the NFL, but I could be wrong.
Right.
Because he's just not big enough to even be a plausible, plan B. You know, can we win 5 games? Can he do what Cooper Rush did? I don't think so.
Right.
But somebody might take a flyer, 6th round, 7th round.
Right, undrafted to give him an opportunity to come in.
Because he clearly knows how to play the position.
Right.
And he clearly plays it at a high level under big pressure.
Right.
And I was making the case, I would have given him the Heisman Trophy on career achievement just for the 2 years worth of numbers. They're not gaudy numbers like Caleb put up at USC, but
he best right to win the championship. They're gonna be on the same mantle as Herschel.
That is correct.
He gonna be beloved like Herschel is in Georgia.
Yep.
This kid with another national. Now, he's already beloved, Skip, because he's from Georgia. He's from Blackshear.
I know, but think about what he did. He walks on at Georgia because they had lineage. Was it his grandfather who played there? Okay, so he walks on at Georgia and he looks around and says, I got no shot here. So he goes to junior college and then he proves himself a little bit and he comes back. And then one thing leads to another, and all of a sudden last year he gets the job. And I think they were giving it to him just to sort of keep for a game or two, and then it's 3 games, then it's 4 games.
Well, JT Daniels got hurt.
I know, he got hurt.
And he never got it back.
But it's going to be JT Daniels' job to have back.
Right.
Okay, so it shocked me after the game, but it's just the relationship that they have. Kirby Smart, right out of the box in his stand-up interview on the field, he's blasting Stetson Bennett. He was highly critical of him. He says, I told him during the game, you're going to have to play better because we're not going any place if you're going to play like that.
Right.
And he blasted his team, too. Well, it's probably a good position to take because they got another game to play. And they did not play Georgia football.
No, especially on the defensive side of football, Skip. But back to Ohio State, Skip. They allowed Michigan and Georgia to set program record average yards per play. Now, Michigan got 8.83. Georgia got 8.88. So damn near 9 yards per play. And you're like, man, I don't know what happened. But that's what happened. Skip, they had a 14-point lead, and then they allowed Georgia to outscore them 18-3. Okay. That's how you lose. Marvin Harrison can't do anything about that. Marvin Harrison Jr., excuse me. Can't do anything about that.
No, he cannot. Okay, so in the end, it came down to one last-ditch Georgia drive. And as much as Stetson Bennett had stunk it up because his QBR wasn't very good, I think he wound up with a 70-something, 74, I believe. Yeah, 75. And CJ had a